Hello and welcome to Nicholas's Docs. I'm sitting here, I ran out of medication there on Friday, and I'm sitting here on Monday before I take the new set of medication to talk about the documentary called Gas Going on Netflix. I'm gonna do it medication free and depression free in honor of that legend, Paul Gascoigne. And I watched this and I noticed like it was really crazy when his childhood. He was talking about how he like saw his like brother or something die in his arms, and then he had developed a tick because of this, and then got bullied in school, and then he was talking about the fanatical way he played football, and then he was talking about the fanatical way he just ate loads of junk, and then it was like really interesting. It was all to do with like the trauma of like being from like a family that never loved you, the trauma of say having a child dying in your arms, and then the trauma of getting bullied for having a tick, and then all of a sudden he just uses his same crazy energy into football, and he manages. And I love when he's playing football in this documentary. He's talking about eating pot noodles, drinking pints with the lads, playing pranks on people, and you really see his warm heart coming through. He's just an average lad who somehow got really had like a talent for football, and he used his like crazy energy and his like brute force, and he merged them together to make him an amazing player. Because people love characters in football. I mean, there was Roy Keane, and then Patrick Vieira, and people love a bad boy. You know what I mean? And now footballers are all campy and overpaid and doing like that and everything. That was back whenever you really bought into the character of Paul Gascoigne all throughout playing for England. People knew who he was. People had character building from him. Now, football players only play for about 6 years, and everything they do is a foul, and you can't really, you know, get into them the same way. And I was wondering to myself, is like, has I turned shit or has football turned shit? And I think it's football that's turned shit. Let me just have a look at my notes. What have I got here? I've got. Let me go. Uh, yes, that's why I remember I saw Paul Gascoigne for the first time. Real Moat, a serial killer, was going around England shooting police officers in the face, and he was on the loose. It was an old. And America loves showing serial killers, and they show police chases live on TV. As if the bad man's more of a celebrity than the police itself. But the UK rarely does that. But for some reason, the whole world was obsessed of looking for this guy, Real Moat, and he had killed one police officer and injured another, and he was hid out. Now they finally found him. The police found him and surrounded him, and he did his last stand in this house. But before he was going to do the old-fashioned shootout, who rolled up with like a six-pack of beer and I think a couple of spliffs to chat to him? Paul Gascoigne, because he was all like, mate, I've been through some hard shit. There's no need to kill yourself, Real Moat. Uh, and I was all like, who the hell is this Paul Gascoigne? And then I started looking videos of this fella. And I was like, this guy was on the gear, he was drinking, eating pot noodles, having the crack, your average lad, but he could play football amazingly. And it's so interesting. This documentary, I couldn't even understand half of what he was saying because you never hear people with a Newcastle accent on TV. And I was trying, I could pick up one of every five words. He's taken a couple of shots to the head of vodka, and he's also had a lot of cigarettes. So you have to factor in his accent and his like voice box damage from years of the sesh, and to find out what he's actually saying in this documentary. But you pick up the warmth of him, and he tells lovely stories about this time he like played a prank on someone by uh, um, collect stealing an ostrich from a zoo, and then this other guy who he took on a joyride while he had this guy hanging off the back of a minivan and all this crazy stuff. And I love football back then when you could just take Coke, drink, and then come in the next day and do an amazing performance in front of your home team, you know what I mean? And you could fucking have football firms and it was violent, it was rough, it was real, and it was cool. Now it's a bit tired, so now there's no football on because of the lockdown. So people are all they can do is watch documentaries like Gas Going. But this is awesome. You rarely get to see working class people, like real working class people, making documentaries, and because normally they've only got a certain amount of channels to success. Either writing a book, or becoming a boxer, or becoming a good footballer. Unless you have degrees, you're kept in minimum wage jobs. Maybe chefing's another one. You can rise your way through the ranks. So he was from a working class background, really good at football. Family didn't care for him much. Saw a kid got bullied for having a tick, then went on uh, to get, I think, a bit bullied by football coaches and stuff. And those, just like the way it's a bit coming out now, I don't know, all these young models are being abused. I think a lot of these football clubs that have these young people in their academy, they get treated pretty terribly and bullied pretty bad. I think there's a lot of scandals to come out of that in the future. He mentioned that, and then he went on to play for Newcastle, and then for his famous England, he basically single-handedly took England to as close as they were to winning the World Cup, and then it all unravelled. He ended up on the set, and then smoking and drinking and taking drugs and having to crack way too much rather than playing football. But it's basically all that boom bust thing, because whenever you're earning very little and your parents earn very little, whenever you've got money, you go out and spend it. And whenever you have cigarettes, you smoke them all, because it's that famine and feast type thing. And mixed with the trauma of the double trauma and then the famine and feast thing of the working class background, it was a perfect storm. And then mixed with the sheer thrill of scoring a goal and having thousands of your mates going like, yeah, and being a god. Mix that all together and you have the cracking alcoholic on your hands right there. And it's very sad to hear about him. I think he had got cancer or something recently. It's very sad. But yeah, I would watch this documentary because it's a very interesting, refreshing take. Because normally you just see middle class people in documentaries, but this is actually a man you could see in any pub and chat to, but doing a documentary, which is refreshing.